Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into a really fascinating corner of AI history. And I bet you most people have forgotten about this one. Fuzzy logic.
Ah,
You remember that thing? You probably saw it on your washing machine back in the 90s. It promised like a smarter clean or something. Well, believe it or not, folks, that was AI. Fuzzy logic was once thought to be like the hottest thing in artificial intelligence, even surpassing the popularity of neural networks.
yeah, it's really amazing how things change, isn't it? I mean, fuzzy logic really did capture the public imagination back then. It promised to make machines think more like humans, and that definitely appealed to people.
Yeah, it really does make you wonder why fuzzy logic resonated so much with consumers back then. Was it just the novelty of like having smart appliances?
Hmm.
Or did the term fuzzy logic just sound, I don't know, user-friendly and approachable, unlike the much more technical sounding neural networks?
That's a really interesting question. I think it was a combination of factors. Fuzzy logic had a certain mystique about it for sure. And the marketing, I think, definitely played that up. Plus, it really delivered on its promises. I mean, those fuzzy logic washing machines and rice cookers, they actually did a better job than their conventional counterparts. They really made life easier, and people were willing to pay a premium for that.
So we've established that fuzzy logic was a pretty big deal. But for those who don't remember or never knew, what exactly is fuzzy logic?
So, at its core, fuzzy logic is a way of dealing with uncertainty. You see, the real world is rarely black and white. Things are often vague and imprecise, well, fuzzy. Traditional logic operates on absolutes, a true or false, yes or no. But fuzzy logic allows for shades of gray, for degrees of truth.
Can you give us a concrete example? Imagine I'm trying to explain this to someone who's never heard of fuzzy logic before.
Okay, sure. Think about a dimmer switch. Instead of just on or off a dimmer switch, lets you control the brightness of a light gradually. That's a lot like fuzzy logic. It allows for a range of values between completely true and completely false, making it much more flexible and adaptable to real-world situations.
Okay, so instead of just saying, is this room hot, and getting a yes or no answer, a fuzzy logic system could say, this room is 70% hot, allowing for more nuanced control.
Exactly. And this ability to deal with ambiguity made fuzzy logic particularly appealing to engineers. It allowed them to build systems that could handle situations where traditional logic would struggle. For example, controlling a robot arm moving through a cluttered environment, or optimizing the fuel efficiency of a car based on varying driving conditions.
This is starting to make a lot of sense. But why didn't fuzzy logic become the dominant AI approach? What happened?
Well, to understand that, we need to go back to the late 1980s and early 1990s. The golden age of fuzzy logic. It was the era of fuzzy logic inside, remember? Fuzzy logic was being applied to all sorts of consumer products, washing machines, rice cookers, cameras, even cars. It was the AI everyone could understand and afford.
It's almost hard to believe now looking back that a washing machine was once the cutting edge of AI. But you mentioned that something else was brewing in the background during this fuzzy logic boom. Neural networks. What was going on there?
Neural networks were facing a different reality back then. In the 1960s, they showed early promise, but were heavily criticized for their limitations. Imagine like a young athlete with incredible potential, but facing a major setback due to an injury. That was neural networks at the time. They were seen as too simplistic, unable to handle complex problems.
So while fuzzy logic was enjoying its moment in the sun, neural networks were sidelined, almost forgotten.
Exactly. This was partly due to a book published in 1969 by Marvin Minsky and Seymour Papert, two highly respected AI researchers. They pointed out some fundamental flaws in a specific type of neural network, called a perceptron. Their critique had a chilling effect on neural network research, leading many to believe that neural networks were a dead end.
So fuzzy logic kind of stepped in to fill the void, offering a more practical and intuitive approach to AI. But we all know that the AI landscape looks completely different today. Neural networks are now the dominant force. What was the turning point? What allowed neural networks to stage such a dramatic comeback?
That's where the story gets even more interesting. You see, as AI problems became more complex and data-driven, fuzzy logic's limitations began to show. Its reliance on human-designed rules started to become a bottleneck. Imagine you're trying to program a fuzzy system to recognize different breeds of dogs. You'd have to define a set of rules for each breed: ear shape, fur, color, size, and so on. As you can imagine, this becomes incredibly complex and time-consuming as the number of categories increases.
Yeah, it makes sense. Trying to account for every possible variation and nuance would be a nightmare.
Precisely. And that's where neural networks had a hidden advantage. Unlike fuzzy logic, they didn't need explicit programming for every scenario. They could learn from data adapting and evolving based on the information they were fed.
So it seems like a classic case of the right tool for the job. As the data deluge began and computing power skyrocketed, neural networks were finally able to unleash their true potential.
You're getting the picture. The mid-2000s saw a confluence of factors that breathed new life into neural network research. Increased computing power, larger data sets, and algorithmic innovations. It was like a perfect storm that propelled neural networks to the forefront of AI.
So you're saying that while fuzzy logic was hitting a wall, neural networks were just getting warmed up.
Exactly. One of the key breakthroughs for neural networks was this algorithm called backpropagation. It essentially revolutionized how neural networks learn. Imagine you're trying to teach a dog a new trick. You reward them when they get it right, and they kind of learn through this feedback. Well, backpropagation does something very similar for neural networks. It allows them to adjust their internal connections based on the errors they make, gradually improving their performance over time.
So backpropagation was like giving neural networks a personal trainer, helping them to refine their skills and become much more efficient learners.
That's a great analogy. And as computing power increased, neural networks could process larger and larger data sets. This allowed them to tackle increasingly complex problems. It was like giving that athlete access to state-of-the-art training facilities and like a team of expert coaches.
And this all paved the way for what we now call deep learning, right? The kind of AI that's behind things like image recognition, natural language processing, and even those amazing text-generating AIs like GPT.
You got it. Deep learning involves training neural networks with multiple layers, hence the deep. This allows them to learn hierarchical representations of data, extracting increasingly abstract features as you go deeper into the network. Imagine looking at a picture of a cat. The first layer of the network might detect edges and simple shapes, while deeper layers would recognize things like ears, whiskers, and eventually the whole cat.
So deep learning enabled neural networks to move beyond those simple tasks, like controlling a washing machine, and into the realm of truly sophisticated cognitive abilities.
Exactly. Think about image recognition. In the early 2000s, getting a computer to reliably identify a cat in a photo was a major challenge. But with deep learning image recognition, accuracy skyrocketed, surpassing human performance in some cases.
That's incredible. So while fuzzy logic was struggling to keep up with the demands of a data-driven world, neural networks fueled by deep learning were taking the AI world by storm.
That's a great way to put it. Deep learning opened up a whole new universe of possibilities for AI. Suddenly, we could build machines that could translate languages, write different kinds of creative content, and even diagnose diseases with remarkable accuracy. And all of this was powered by neural networks.
Okay, so it seems like the rise of neural networks inevitably led to the decline of fuzzy logic.
Yeah.
But is fuzzy logic completely obsolete? Is it just a relic of the past, like those clunky old computers we see in museums?
Not at all. Fuzzy logic might not be the AI superstar it once seemed, but it's far from extinct. It's like a seasoned veteran who's found their niche and continues to excel in specific areas.
So it's like saying that just because smartphones exist doesn't mean we no longer need landline phones.
Exactly. Different tools for different jobs. Fuzzy logic has proven to be incredibly valuable in certain applications, where its simplicity and efficiency are major advantages. For example, think about embedded systems, like those found in thermostats, washing machines, and industrial controllers. These devices often have limited processing power and memory, and fuzzy logic provides a lightweight and robust solution for tasks that don't require the complexity of a full-blown neural network.
So in a way, fuzzy logic has come full circle. It started in those everyday appliances, then got overshadowed by the hype of neural networks, and now it's quietly powering many of those same devices behind the scenes.
It's a fascinating journey, isn't it? And it highlights an important point about technology. Progress isn't always linear. What's considered cutting edge today might become niche tomorrow, and vice versa.
That's a great point. So where is fuzzy logic being used today, beside those embedded systems you mentioned?
Well, one area where fuzzy logic continues to thrive is industrial automation. Fuzzy logic controllers are used in factories and manufacturing plants to manage complex processes, like temperature control, pressure regulation, and motor speed optimization. The beauty of fuzzy logic in these applications is that it can handle uncertainty and imprecision in a way that traditional control systems often struggle with.
Can you give us an example of how this works in a real-world setting?
Imagine you're trying to control the temperature of a furnace in a steel mill. The temperature needs to be maintained within a very specific range, and there are many factors that can affect it, like the amount of fuel being burned, the airflow, and even the ambient temperature outside. A traditional control system might struggle to account for all of these variables and could overshoot or undershoot the target temperature, leading to inefficiencies and potentially even safety hazards.
So a fuzzy logic system could handle all of those variables more gracefully, adjusting the furnace controls in a more nuanced way to keep the temperature stable.
Exactly. Fuzzy logic allows the controller to make decisions based on a range of inputs and to adjust the output accordingly. It's like a skilled chef who can intuitively adjust the heat of a stove based on the sizzle of the pan, the smell of the food, and years of experience.
That's a great analogy. So fuzzy logic is still playing a vital role in industries where precision and reliability are paramount.
Absolutely. And it's not just heavy industries like steelmaking. Fuzzy logic is also used in areas like medical diagnosis, financial forecasting, and even video game development. It's a versatile tool that can be applied to a wide range of problems.
Okay, so fuzzy logic isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a proven technology that continues to solve real-world problems in various fields. But given the dominance of neural networks in AI today, does fuzzy logic have any future? Or is it destined to remain a niche player?
That's a really interesting question. It's tough to predict the future of any technology, especially in a field as dynamic as AI is. But I think fuzzy logic has a few things going for it.
Yeah, I agree. For one, its simplicity can be a real strength, especially in an era where AI systems are becoming increasingly complex and opaque. There's a growing need for AI that is transparent and understandable, and fuzzy logic really fitted that bill.
Right. And if you can understand the rules that an AI system is based on, it's much easier to trust its decisions, especially in critical applications like healthcare or finance.
Well, exactly.
And fuzzy logic's ability to deal with uncertainty also remains relevant, perhaps even more so in today's world. I mean, we're constantly bombarded with information overload, and not everything can be neatly categorized or reduced to just a simple yes or no.
So fuzzy logic could be seen as a complement to neural networks,
Yeah.
rather than a competitor. Like they each have their strengths and can work together to solve different aspects of a problem.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's already research exploring hybrid systems that combine the learning capabilities of neural networks with the transparency and interpretability of fuzzy logic. It's like having the best of both worlds.
I love that idea. Instead of thinking of it as like a battle between fuzzy logic and neural networks, we can envision them as teammates, each bringing their unique skills to the table.
Exactly. And who knows what the future holds? Just as neural networks made a surprising comeback, maybe fuzzy logic will find a new way to shine, perhaps even playing a key role in the next big AI breakthrough.
Maybe those fuzzy logic inside stickers will become collector's items after all.
Uh-huh. You never know. But seriously, I think the fuzzy logic story is a great reminder that we should never underestimate the power of simple, elegant solutions. And it's also a testament to the enduring nature of innovation. Even when a technology seems to have faded into obscurity, it can always find a way to reemerge and contribute in unexpected ways.
Well said. So what's the big takeaway for our listeners today? What can they learn from this fascinating rise and fall, and perhaps rise again, of fuzzy logic?
I think the key message here is that the world of technology is full of surprises. What's hot today might be niche tomorrow, and vice versa. The most important thing is to stay curious, keep learning, and be open to new ideas, even those that might seem outdated or forgotten, because you never know where the next great innovation will come from.
I love that. It's a message of hope and possibility for anyone who's ever felt like their ideas or skills were out of date. There's always a chance for a comeback, a new way to contribute, a new way to make a difference. And who knows, maybe fuzzy logic will be leading the charge.
It certainly have the potential.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of fuzzy logic. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration of the tech world.